Today, everybody wants to know how the heck can I work at home with my partner, stay sane, and build a relationship? So the key is separation. That's right. You must separate if you want to stay together. What the heck? What the heck do I mean by that?
So you've got to have your own time. You've got to have your own space. Really, it's difficult, right? They're in each other's space. They're living in their one-bedroom condo. They used to be able to go to the offices, but now they're at home. And so what we did is we converted our second bedroom into an office space. Beautiful view of the ocean, and it was going to be the perfect setup for both of us. And, Craig goes on a call, I go on a call, and it was very echoey, and basically it didn't work out, and we just found a lot of tension between the two of us. So I decided to have a little makeshift office in the other room, and just honestly, by having that physical separation really, really helped both of our workflows and just throughout the day.
Yeah, it absolutely allowed us to get more done, and the communication we had allowed us to plan and prepare for that, and it was the key for the rest of what you're about to hear, so that we could have that strong partnership all day long and then be able to separate our work life and our home life. We had blocked times for when we were working on our projects, and then we had very strict cutoff times at the end of the day. What kind of freedom do you think that gave us?
Well, it gave us a lot of freedom because we were able to then know when our workday was, right? Yeah. I think one of the biggest mistakes that people make, especially entrepreneurs at home, is they just continuously work, especially if you don't have something going on at night, or your night's free and you can just continue to work. There's no cutoff time. So what that allowed us to do is we were able to say, okay, by 6 o'clock, no more work, and we can
Phones
enjoy
off.
We can enjoy date night. We can watch a show together, whatever we want to do, so that that's our time to really deeply connect. Because the thing is, you can physically be beside each other or in the same house, and you're like, yeah, we're totally spending time together right now. But you're not. It's not that deep conversation, that deep connection that you would have.
Yeah, and so I have a couple of coaching clients who are partners in businesses. Both Michelle and I run our own separate businesses, but they work together in the same business, and then obviously they live together in the same home. And what they had to do was come up with a rule that as of 6:30 or 7 o'clock, there's no more talking about the business for the rest of the evening. And it took a while at first for them to be able to have that separation, but over time, when they were able to make that transition, it gave them a little bit of peace and relief from the stress of the workday. Now, obviously, as we go through this, I think it's pretty easy for us to agree that communication is key, right?
Mm-hmm, definitely.
Yeah, so talk about how we communicate our days in advance to each other, and then also how we communicate when we need help.
Yeah, so we have a whiteboard. It's kind of old school for those of you that like to do things online, but there's something nice about actually having something physical, like something you can hold on to, right? So we would sit down and we would jot down basically the whole week, what's going on with us. And it was really, really helpful. I mean, we don't have a whiteboard right now, so now we just do the old-fashioned pen and paper, but it was really helpful to be like, oh, well, I'm gonna take the dog now, and then you can do this. And so it was this kind of dance, because not every single day looks the same. We can have our workday schedule, let's call it 9 to 6, but every day looks slightly different.
Yeah, and so if Michelle has like a super busy day with photo shoots and making videos and all that stuff, then I know this is my opportunity to take more time with Daisy, our dog, or to clean the house up, or to get dinner ready. When I cook.
Hey, you're up on camera now.
By ordering DoorDash. But I do cook breakfast.
You do.
All right.
Amazing at breakfast.
Yes. So having that communication about not only how does tomorrow look, but having it for the entire week is incredibly valuable, so that you start strong, you start fresh, and you start off on the right foot and not pressured or wondering and clueless about, well, what are they doing today? I have no idea. When you have that, unease and unsureness in your mind, that's when a lot of the problems can come up. Now, another thing that we need to discuss is making sure that there's not a lot of temptations or distractions in between, because we've seen some people that they might have some bad habits that then can be thrust upon somebody else. So like, for example, if one partner keeps really bad food in the house or alcohol in the house and tempts the other person, it can cause a lot of problems. So how can people talk that through, deal with it, and avoid those temptations so that they can stay focused during the day, which we know is so important?
Yeah, so I think one of the most important things is that, well, you open up the communication. So I have a lot of stomach issues, so there's a lot of things that I cannot eat. And Craig knows that, and he's respectful of that. So he knows that he's going to the grocery store, he's not going to go buy a ton of ice cream because I can't have dairy. And he can be like, well, I can enjoy dairy, so that's kind of like your problem. And
No,
I think,
it's not.
No, but that's what a lot of people, might do. And then something so small could blow up, and it could be a huge fight over what dairy. There's tons of dairy-free, ice cream that you could buy, right? So I think that, just making sure that you're on the same page about, and that, that doesn't mean you can't be your own person, right? You can still be your own person, but just know that you basically
Need to respect the
need
other
to
person.
respect each other. Yeah.
Okay, so you brought up something very important there, that a little thing can lead to big blow-ups in a lot of cases.
Yeah.
And so for people that are stuck at home, working side by side, Zooming all day, and have to Zoom and homeschool their kids, that thing in the morning, the kids didn't pick up their dishes, and then, you didn't take the dog out, and then, oh my goodness, you're still working, and we're supposed to have our cutoff time at 6 and 6:05, and the next thing you know, it's a big blow up. So how do people recover from the big blow ups? How do they get back on track? And then how do they also avoid those in the future?
I think,
Notice I'm giving her all the hard questions, and I'm just.
When do I get to ask you?
Yeah. Okay. So what do you think about that?
So I think that, as far as
The big blow-ups coming from, the molehills building into mountains. The next thing you know, they explode. How do we recover from those things if we do have the fights? And how do people avoid those at all?
Yeah, so I think that you need to lay each other's schedule down. So if you're the kind of person that just wings it, maybe you're creative, which I am, and before, I lived with someone and I was engaged to someone, I would just wing things in a way. So I would have a structure, but I wasn't really taking into consideration of the other person. And so I think this is a huge thing that I see with a lot of new relationships is people just kind of go into it with their own way. I've been doing the same thing for 30 years, like, why would I change, right? And so I think one of the most important things is that you understand that this is a partnership. This is not like your way or the highway. It's simply a give and take. And I know you've heard this before, but it's true. You have to understand where the other person is coming from. You have to understand what their day is like, what their workload is like, because, sometimes he's going to be way busier than I am, so I'm going to come in, and vice versa. So just really understanding that the big picture of things. And if you're not a big picture person, I really advise you to try to do some vision stuff, try to do some goal setting for 5-10 years down the road, because that will open up your vision, I guess, to other opportunities. And I mean, if the dishes aren't done and that really, really bothers you, you need to open up to say something, because those little things just start to stack up, and then it's and it's bad.
Yeah, it's super important so if you have that vision of hey, here's our partnership, and we want to have kids, and we want to raise our kids, and it doesn't matter where you are. If you're raising your kids right now, you have that vision in the future of raising a great family, having a good relationship, keeping this together for a long time. And so if you focus on that, whether you actually create a vision board or you just sit down and write it out with your partner, and then you go, okay, I'm really upset about dishes not being done today, but how does that really, really matter in the long run? That'll help you calm down and be more patient with somebody else who might have had just the absolute craziest day in their work career, and that's why they didn't do the dishes, because if they didn't get a project done at work, they may have lost their job. So it's definitely the give and take, the communication, having that separation of both space and between the actual work life and home life that are so important to helping people remain sane when they're forced to work at home, especially under crazy lockdowns, but even when they are just in a business partnership at all that requires them to almost spend 24/7 with their spouse or significant other for long periods of time. And
you know what that reminds me of actually is my parents, divorced now unfortunately, but my dad used to travel for work, and he would go and develop old warehouse style buildings into condos, and it was about an hour flight away from where we lived, and my mom of course was raising my brother and I, and he would go away and then he'd come back, and so of course on the weekends he'd want to spend time with us, he'd want to play with us, and he'd want to, you know, have those precious moments, because once Monday morning came, he was on a flight back to work on his project. And I remember like my parents fighting growing up about, oh, the dishes are left in the sink and all this stuff. And,
there's something about peanut butter you told me that.
Yeah, maybe. But, you know, it's just at the end of the day, 5 years, 10 years down the road, like, does that really matter? Was that really worth that memory of, you know, something like that? Maybe it is to you, but
yeah, so just remember, in the
picture.
long run, that the little things won't matter.
Yeah.
So you just have to have the patience, you have to have the forgiveness, give the other person some grace, and then communicate in advance, because so much of the work of keeping a partnership so strong is done with that preparation plan in advance. So we want you to know that we understand what you're going through right now, working at home, whether it's with a partner, whether it's with a business partner, being stuck in there all the time and trying to separate your work and your home life. It can be done. It must be done, especially if you want things to carry on. So over to you, because we are a partnership both inside and outside of our businesses, and we have that vision, that long-term vision, and it keeps us course corrected every time that we may feel like we're getting off track. So over to you. What's your best piece of advice, your best piece of relationship advice for partners that are working side by side, Zooming all day long? How do you recommend they stay sane and stay strong throughout all of this? Drop that in the comment down below, and then watch one of my next videos that'll help you plan and prepare your day better, both for you and your partner, so that you can get more done and have more free time and focus on